What's up, Mad World's me, Coach Sess. Let's get it in. All right, so last night, plenty of offerings on television, plenty of offerings on the internet, plenty of offerings historically in terms of fights out there. You've got so many shows, but let me tell you, the best fights that happened last night were the UFC and Chris Rock. And I'll get into that in a moment. So the only thing I cared about on the UFC was watching Damon Blackshear, former teammate. And I was a little confused by that fight in the sense that they made a big deal about the other guy that he was fighting. And I don't know. You know, if you have complaints about Damon's fight IQ or the choices that he made, I have complaints about the other guy. It didn't look like he was really trying to fight, especially on the feet. And even when he took Damon down, he didn't really do a lot. He didn't really attack. And there was one moment, and I think it was in the second round, they made the announcer team, they made some kind of thing about Damon being on his back for the last 2 minutes. And I thought to myself, then what about the first 3 minutes? You know, because the other guy, you know, he wasn't pressing the action. So I think that's something in the world of MMA they're going to have to fix. That just because a guy takes a guy down, there should be one more attempt. You know, a big bomb that really lands or hurts the opponent, because you still have to maintain that criteria. You're trying to win the fight. And just because you're throwing heavy bombs that land on a guy's shoulders and arms, that's not the scoring area. No submission attempts or anything like that. And even if you pass the guard, you still have to attempt some type of finishing maneuver and not just control. So there was a lot of that going on both sides, but I thought Damon had the better side of it. And we know that at least one judge kind of saw it that way, because the fight was 29-28. But it is what it is. But I think, to be fair, that is something Damon's going to have to fix in terms of making the better decisions. He's got to become more aware. Hey, you're winning the fight here. There is no need to go somewhere else. So I dabbled in and out of the rest of the card. And something else the commentary team pointed out, a lot of guys aren't watching film anymore. And Daniel Cormier said, hey, a lot of fighters have told me they don't even watch a lot of MMA. In this last month or two, I have not watched a lot of MMA. And what little I have watched has been over in one championship. I think that the key with MMA is you got to have the right characters and the right story behind them now. MMA's got to the point where people want to keep up. And I think that's why the pay-per-view did well. But people just want to keep up. They're not really interested in watching the fights. They're interested in the stories. And the idea of Jon Jones coming back after a 3-year layoff, huge story. You know, Valentina Shevchenko, prior to going into the fight, you know, this champion with this long streak, held the title for so long. It's a beautiful story. And so there's always that chance, you know, that Jon Jones comes back and gets demolished. There's this chance that Shevchenko, you know, defends her title and loses, which did happen. You know, no one saw that coming. You can watch that fight, because I did watch that fight. So that was probably my next thing on the card that I cared about, watching Shevchenko fight. Yeah, she got bullied a little bit, and not sure why. Who knows what was going on? Injuries behind the scene. So a lot of this I didn't watch with the volume up, so I didn't listen to a lot of the commentary team outside of watching Damon Blackshear's fight. But I'm watching this fight and I'm going like, hey, my girl's getting bullied a little bit, you know. So I don't know what's going on with that, but you know, I'm gonna go back and check it out. But she got bullied a little bit, and yeah, she got beat. And you know what? From my personal point of view, it's actually good for the sport. I don't think we should invest ourselves in these unbeatable champions where we just build up animosity and care about them losing. What I care about is competitive fights, strategical fights, because I like it when they work out the little nuances. I like it when they run into problems and they're able to come back and fix them. So we'll see where she goes from there. You know, whether she stays in that weight class, whether she moves up, whether she wants a rematch, blah, 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 or she just stays where she is and fights, you know, her way back up to the top. That would be good too. There's nothing wrong with that. Jon Jones, you know, I like Cyril Gane, but here's the problem. Everybody knows he has that deficiency in the grappling department. And Jon Jones, who doesn't always show it, when he wants to be a grappling genius, he can be a grappling genius. He fought Daniel Cormier, an Olympian, and was able to get him down. then what makes you think that he's not going to be able to get a kickboxer who pretty much tends to throw heavy bombs one at a time? Of course, Jon's going to be big enough. He's going to have the size. He's going to have the right training from his training partners to take one good shot, get in, take this guy down, and hold him down. Because he trained with heavyweights for this fight. So yeah, it is what it is, and it turned out to be what it was. And like I said, I did see the YouTube stuff where, you know, Stipe might be next or whatever. That's going to be a different fight, but Jon's been building for quite a while now, and so even by the time we get to June, July, whenever that fight's supposed to be happening, as long as injuries don't, you know, impact that setup, I think Jon will be ready for Stipe, and I think it'll be interesting. Jones is now the A side because you got to have a personality to carry the fight, and Stipe doesn't carry that aura. But now he has a guy that will carry it for him, because I didn't even think that Ngannou carried that aura. I thought what Ngannou had was that size and that monster-like image. That's what carried that second fight between them. You know, that monster-like image. And it's like, rah, I come to destroy, you know. And that made that fight work. But I think now you got a guy who can actually talk. You got a guy who has a little bit of attitude. You got a guy with a legacy. It's going to be a great fight. Even if it only goes one round, either way.
A communications invasion. A communications invasion. A communications invasion.
The fight of the night was Chris Rock doing his comedy special on Netflix. There's a lot of things going on in that comedy special, and normally I wouldn't even talk about that in the fight context, but there's a lot of strategy to this that I like, and so I have to talk about it. And one of the things that you saw in this special was a lot of first. Chris Rock, Netflix, first time live comedy special. I thought, okay, that was different. Then they had this pre-show that I thought was supposed to be funny, but then I kind of realized, this thing's informative. It's giving you a bit of a setup, what you might expect as far as the comedy show. And I like that because I'm not a Chris Rock fan. And it's not to say that I'm a Chris Rock hater. It's just that outside of New Jack City when he played Pookie, I don't remember a lot of Chris Rock stuff. I don't remember watching a full stand-up episode. You know, I might watch 5-10 minutes, catch a skit here or there on YouTube. So yeah, I'm aware of who Chris Rock is, but I wouldn't put Chris Rock in my top 15 black, living, still currently active comedians that live in America. You know, so if I throw in females, whites, and worldwide, Chris Rock gets moved down a lot, just to put it in that context. So I'm not as aware of Chris Rock as I might have been at one point in my lifetime. But I will say this, for 2 hours last night, Chris Rock was the best comedian on the planet. And let me tell you why. I remember several years ago when Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and John Cena in WWE set up this match that had a year-long build. And that WrestleMania went on to be a beautiful WrestleMania. They had the right matches in place. They had the right energy. They had a great match. And it was an outstanding WrestleMania. And it even stayed in your brain after that because of the 1 year build-up. Chris Rock had this 1 year build-up to tackle the slap that happened at the Oscars from Will Smith. This 1 year build-up that he approached this comedy skit with was outstanding. He built it up, and some of the things that he talked about inside of the skit were outstanding. How he would set up the closure to the show. He set it up beautifully, mentioning other rappers and how he didn't want no smoke. And let me tell you, during the skit, Chris Rock, he 8-miled Will Smith. So if you ever seen the movie 8 Mile with Eminem, where in the last rap battle, Eminem just turns all the jokes onto himself and left the other rapper with nothing to say. Chris Rock did that beautifully, strategically, masterfully. He took away everything. He said, "Why you picking on me?" This thing, I'm not going to spoil it because I want you to watch it. But, for just 2 hours last night, this thing was outstanding. And then at the end, they had this after show with several comedians. And I don't know why Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was up there, but they had this little panel. And even that kind of worked for me because they do the, like the post-fight commentary, the post-fight conference. I thought this was different. I said, I don't remember too many comedic shows with the post-fight, with the post-conference thing. And so this thing was beautiful. He set it up on the right night. There are plenty of fights out. There was pro wrestling out. There was mixed martial arts out, boxing out. And so he approached this thing like it was a championship fight. And the timing was just right. So Chris Rock, maybe they get Bruce Buffer and say, "and new," because Chris Rock got his shots back against Will Smith and Jada. Chris Rock won that one. So those were the things that happened last night that I thought were strategically outstanding, and look forward to whatever's next. I think the only thing I really want to see, or I'm interested in seeing, is Edwards and Usman, to see if that was just kind of a fluke, snafu type thing. And does Usman get that back? That was my night. I am Coach Sess, and you've had words with the Mad Coach.